Shalom and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Today we're looking at Deuteronomy chapter 5. There are 33 verses, and today I'm going to also do something new. I'm going to have some background music. You'll hear that in the background. Um, so, what we do with this channel is we look at the truth about the Holy Bible. We compare the Septuagint, which is the text that existed during the time of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua HaMashiach, however you want to call him, comparing it to the Masoretic text, which again came 300 years after Jesus Christ had come to the earth, had died, and was resurrected. So that's what we do at this channel. And we've discovered some hard truths, some very huge differences between the Masoretic text and the Septuagint. So going on with Deuteronomy chapter 5, beginning in verse 1, we have an omission of the word all. The word all is in regards to all that I speak. So let me just qualify that. All that I speak. This is all royalty-free music, so hopefully there are no copyright issues. Continuing on, the word shall, and you shall learn them. Shall was actually they use may instead of shall. And it says here, observe to do them versus keep and do them. Verse 2, a continuous difference we see here. You versus us. Verse 3, your versus our fathers. You are all here versus uh, who are all of us here. Verse 5, report to you versus show to you. Words versus word. And then we have here before the fire. Okay, I have to change the music now. that's the only problem here. Okay. So before the fire versus because of the fire. And then we see here verse 8. An addition of the word graven. There's an omission of whatever things. Verse 10. Doing versus showing. It's one thing to do mercifully. It's another thing altogether to just show. Showing does not necessarily mean doing. Verse 11. An omission of your Elohim. Will certainly not acquit him versus will not hold guiltless. It's more definitive in the Septuagint. Verse 14, we have an omission of and your ox. So we can see animal rights is not being respected here in the Masoretic. Verse 15, a high arm versus an outstretched arm, or a stretched out arm, I should say. Stretched out. It's not outstretched, but you can see there's a little difference there. Appointed versus commanded. And then it's talking about the Shabbat, the Sabbath day. It says, and to sanctify it. This is a significant difference because the Masoretic is saying it does not have to be sanctified, at least not in this verse. Verse 17, commit murder. This is probably the biggest difference. I'm going to say this is probably a huge difference because a lot of people do believe that the command is to not kill. And it says here, you shall not murder. You shall not commit murder. It's not the same thing. Murder is premeditated, where you plan to kill somebody in advance, but killing would also outlaw self-defense. And we know in the scriptures, self-defense is lawful. If you're defending someone else's life, perhaps, even Moses, I believe, was defending the life of somebody and he killed somebody, but did not, maybe, is that murder? Anyway, you can comment below if you think whatever you want to share regarding that, what Moses did, or regarding murder versus killing. Verse 21, covet your neighbor's wife versus desire. Uh, we have an addition in verse 22. It says, of the cloud was added. And there's two omissions here of blackness and storm. So recall that there was lightnings and thunderings. So the storm is included in the Septuagint. However, in the Masoretic, it is omitted. We have a big difference here in verse 23. It says here, fire. The voice spoke out of the fire. You heard the voice out of the midst of the fire. In the Masoretic, they heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness. And I believe this verse contradicts itself in the Masoretic because it says, for the mountain did burn with fire. So how can it burn with darkness? Whereas the Septuagint gets it right, correctly says, for the mountain burned with fire. And that's where the voice came out of. Okay. Here's a great track, by the way. It's really helping. Uh, we have a big difference as well. It says, add an addition of near. It says that you came near to me versus came to me in the Septuagint. So recall that the Israelites were not to approach the mountain. They were not permitted to approach the mountain on penalty of death, or to touch the mountain, I should say specifically. Verse 24, an addition of the word greatness, and an omission as well in the same verse of shall. Uh, and it's using the word doth instead of doth talk. Actually, maybe it's not an omission, it's more of a replacement. Okay, wrapping up that track. And it says here, and an omission of shall live in regards to the word live. Okay. Verse 25, and now let us not die. Versus now, therefore, why should we die? So the Septuagint is telling Moses, I should say the Israelites are expressing to Moses in the Septuagint, don't let us die, Moses, save us. That's the tone I'm getting from the Septuagint. However, in the Masoretic, it can be read in this way. You are trying to kill us. Why should we die? You're the one trying to kill us. It's accusatory. And an omission as well of shall. Shall here. Verse 26. What flesh versus who all flesh. And then it says shall live versus lived. So we can see they assume that they lived. In the Masoretic, in the Septuagint, they're saying, will we be able to live? A question mark. They're both questions. Verse 27 seems to contradict verse 23, where it says that they should come near to Yah. However, the specific instruction, again, was not to approach the mountain itself, not to touch it. So as long as they did not do that, they would live. So although it does seem to sound somewhat of, to be contradictory, that's not the case when you look at the specific command. We have an omission of you shall in regards to speak to us all. Um, you shall. And then things whatsoever was omitted as well. Verse 28, significant difference here, an omission of even all things that they have said to thee. So even all things. 29, should versus would, fear me in regards to that. And an addition of the word all connecting to my commandments was added. Verse 31, wrapping up here, an addition of, but as for you, that was added. And with, stand here with me versus by me. Continuous difference of ordinances versus statutes. We notice that throughout the text, I think since Genesis. Let them do so versus that they may do so. So uh, in the Septuagint, it seems to imply that Yah is commanding Moses allow them to or help them to do these things. Verses in the Masoretic saying maybe they will do it, or expressed as so they will do it, so that they can do it. So in any case, it is not as instructive to Moses in the Masoretic. Verse 32, take heed versus observe, observe. And then verse 33 in the Septuagint, it connects to verse 32, where it says here, you shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left, according to all the way which Yah your Elohim commanded you to walk in it. Whereas in verse 33 of the Masoretic, it adds a punctuation mark, a period. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. So it's a separate thought. And then it continues with a new thought. You shall walk in all the ways. So it's not telling them how they should walk in it, whereas the Septuagint is telling them how they should walk, which is not turning to the right hand or to the left. And then lastly, it says here that he may give you rest versus you may live. So it's interesting that perhaps, in the commandments, it talks about the Sabbath, sabbatical years, and different things regarding the Sabbath. And perhaps even the law itself is a rest because it is a blessing to be able to keep it. And when you do keep it, you are blessed. So thank you very much for your time. That's all I have for you today for this chapter of Deuteronomy, chapter 5. Tune in next time when we'll look at Deuteronomy, chapter 6. Thank you very much for your time. May Yah bless you and make your way prosperous, and peace be unto you from the Father and Yeshua HaMashiach. You've been watching Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Shalom and peace be unto you.